You guys, it's time for Soundtrack Saturday again! Okay, so a few weeks back we talked about the best songs in Donkey Kong Country 2, but its sequel, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble, is just as great of a game and has just as great of a soundtrack. Just for a bit of context, in DKC3, you take control of Dixie Kong and her cousin Kitty, who are out on a search and rescue mission for both Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong, who have been kidnapped by... No, not King K. Rool. No, not Captain K. Rool. None other than Baron K. Roolenstein. I know, by this point, K. Rool's aliases are just hilarious. Anyways, let's start with something lighthearted, shall we? Stilt Village plays over all the boardwalk levels in the game, which consist of the Kongs navigating the separated pieces of the boardwalks and the lake below them. It also has the honor of playing over the very first level of the game, which is what makes it so important. This song is very much lighthearted and playful, which works great for the very first level since it's also the easiest. The Kongs, as well as the player, have no idea what they've gotten themselves into yet. Even later boardwalk stages are relatively easy, and the music does nothing to panic the player. The use of the tuba in the song plays off the ever-present concept that the game takes place in the northern Cremisphere, which is more mountainous and rugged. Plus, this song is really just super nostalgic for me, but then so is every other song on this list. Rockface Rumble plays over the cliff levels. These levels, at least in my opinion, are very diverse in their use of the terrain. For example, in Kong-fused cliffs, you're stuck climbing up a rope that's been lit on fire, whilst avoiding other enemies. In Crevice Creepers, however, you have to navigate your way up the cliffs while avoiding clasps, demonic-faced TNT barrels with Kremlings in them that are doing their very best to cross the ropes, run into you, and explode on impact. The point is, the cliff levels are diverse. Rockface Rumble finds a way to fit the theme of every last one of them. None of the cliff levels are what I'd call easy or relaxed, and neither is the music. The banging on the drums makes you feel like you're doing some serious work here, which is absolutely true, and the electric guitar solo makes it crystal clear that what you're doing is nothing short of extreme free cliff climbing. Fun fact, when I was little, I used to pause these levels as soon as they'd start and just listen to the loop music for a few minutes, but that was in the time before YouTube. The pipe network levels are mind-boggling, which is why Pokey pipes can seem a little weird, spooky, odd, I don't know. However you describe it, the song isn't like anything else in the game's soundtrack. Mind you, one of the pipe levels doesn't use Pokey pipes, but I'll touch on that a little bit later. In the levels that do, you're always dealing with a crazy twist on your controls. In Low G Labyrinth, the gravity is turned way down, leaving the Kongs jumping high and falling real slow. In Poisonous Pipeline, the water is, well, it's poisoned.
No, duh.
It reverses your horizontal controls, so left is right and right is left. As an added twist, both of those levels directly precede their area's boss, which would lead you to believe that the gravity or horizontal controls are manipulated on purpose to keep trespassers away. All of that is suspicious, right? No, so is the music. It reeks of suspect intentions, being quieter than any other song and consisting entirely of synthetic noises. Bonus points because when there are drums to speak of, they're the sound of someone banging on an enormous pipe, not unlike the ones you're moving through. Nuts and Bolts plays over the factory levels. All the factories have giant vats of some unknown molten substance bubbling in them. I hesitate to say lava only because the liquid isn't always red, but I digress. Nuts and Bolts is a song you could really do some extreme blacksmithing to, seeing as it's got a strong, steady beat and another hard guitar solo. Yes sir, this here's the working man's music. It also comes off as dangerous, and I should freaking hope so. At the bare minimum, you're crossing over those aforementioned giant vats of hot liquid. At maximum, something is shooting at you. In fact, something is always shooting at you in these levels. In Fireball Frenzy, it's carbines, them bug-eyed owls trying to pelt you with fireballs. In blazing bazookas, bazookas are trying to one-shot you with barrels. In Crackshot Croc though, an unseen enemy, known as Croc, is constantly following your movements with crosshairs, and every so often, he tries to murder you with fireballs. Seriously, the stress never stops in these levels, no thanks to the music. The mill levels are some of the most unique levels, which, isn't to say getting shot at isn't a first for this series. As the name would suggest, all these levels take place in old mills. As abandoned mills are wont to do, these levels have no shortage of rats, in addition to a lot of buzzers. Mill Fever is perfectly suited to these levels because of the instruments used in the track. The beat is made to sound like a percussionist is beating on different kinds of wood, and the main tune is played on a subdued harmonica of sorts. It all feels very old and wooden.
Bruh.
The pace of the song also gives a sense that you're being put up to a challenge of the mind. That's also true in the mill levels. In Squeals on Wheels, you have to get rid of all the sneaks on their hamster wheels to gradually unlock the doors you have to pass through to progress. In Murky Mill, you play as Ellie, your elephant companion, who is stereotypically afraid of rats. Luckily, the mill is dark, so she shouldn't be able to really see them, except most of the sneaks are only walking around in the few lit spots, so you have to be clever to clear Ellie's path. I'm a sucker for a mind puzzle like these. Recall way back in your mind when I said there was one pipe level that didn't use the Pokey Pipes music. Remember that? That one level is Demolition Drain Pipe, a level where you're riding at high speed through the pipes in a sled and have to avoid enemies and keep from crashing. It's the one pipe level that doesn't make you take things slower than normal. On the contrary, it makes you go almost faster than your reaction time. So, instead of suspicious Pokey Pipes, you hear Rushed Hot Pursuit. This isn't the only level the track plays in either. Tearaway Toboggan is basically the snowy version of Demolition Drain Pipe, but in Riverside Race, you're being chased by a swarm of bees. This song legit gives me time anxiety because it sounds like you need to move as fast as you can. The tune urges you to hurry as fast as your monkey legs will carry you, and that's the genius of it. Plus it sounds dangerous, which is perfect because if you run into a wall in that sled, you will die. Enchanted Riverbank plays over every riverbank level except for River Race, for obvious reasons. The river levels are aesthetically pleasing, as you run along and swim in the clear water and go up against enemies that belong in this environment, like Cocos and Knickknacks. Out of all the river levels though, I think the track best suits Bobbing Barrel Brawl. In this level, you play as Ellie again and have to traverse the landscape. Ellie can swim, though not very well, so you resort to hopping across floating barrels in the water and shoot enemies with water you've stored in your trunk. The song fits the adventures of a friendly elephant pretty well in my opinion. On the other hand, this song doesn't fit Lightning Lookout at all, on purpose. In Lightning Lookout, you're running along the riverbank again, while oddly targeted lightning tries to fry you alive. Enchanted Riverbank doesn't fit this at all. It's like it's trying to throw you off the very obvious danger constantly looming directly overhead. Or it's trying to frustrate you more than you already are. I cannot stress this enough. This level is not easy. Many a life has been lost here. Many a rage quit too. Cavern Caprice plays over all the cave levels and works really well at creating ambiance. The entire song has a slight echo to it, which goes perfectly with the fact that you're navigating large caverns. Additionally, it's upbeat, owing to the fact that you're always dealing with some foolishness in these caves. The hardest cave level is you dealing with a buzz-infested cave, but there's so many buzzes. Oh, and copters. Oh lord, the copters. You're already dealing with the harder mobility of squawks, but then the game throws these flying kremlins who are just minding their business. They're just, they're always in the way. Under that is a case of kachuckas, throwing bombs at you. The easiest level is haunted with ghost barrels who love to shoot you into hazards. See? Always some foolishness. Cavern Caprice wholly encompasses this environment. Cave echo? Check. Moderate tempo to suggest a fair amount of action? Double check. An oddly chill tune to throw you all the way off your game? Checkity check. First and foremost, let me get something off my chest. The beginning of this song always scares me. Like, I know it's coming, but I still jump. Anywho, Big Boss Blues is obviously the music played when fighting the big boss, Baron K. Rulenstein. This music begins kind of intense, as if to really make sure you understand that you have reached the climactic final boss. After the intro, it settles into a steady yet fierce track that allows you enough peace to think your way through the antics of the battle, but not so much peace that you forget the gravity of the situation. The Baron doesn't make it easy for you either. Even though he largely spends most of the time flying back and forth and never directly attacks you, he makes up for his lack of combat ability with gadgets. He starts easy, by only making you pull levers to get barrels, but by the end of the first fight, you're avoiding electric currents running across the floor and the Baron's mindless flight. The second fight is even worse. Yeah, the Baron may be the funniest caricature of K. Rool yet, but that doesn't mean you should take it easy on him. And that's the point Big Boss Blues is trying to make here. In the first Donkey Kong Country, the water levels were freshwater. In the second installment, the water levels were in partially submerged pirate ships. The third game has you navigating active coral reefs. And I do mean active. All the levels are filled with Cocos, Bazzas, Bounty Bass, Gleam and Bream, the list goes on. And it's cramped, often leading you through passages that are just wide enough for the Kongs to fit through. All that stress is taken up another notch with the addition of the music. Waterworld is a melancholic, intense track. Its synthetic sounds do a good enough job playing off the water theme, but the song as a whole makes you feel like you're constantly in danger. This is especially true in two distinct levels. The first one, Fish Food Frenzy, has you swimming through the water while a ravenous fish tails you. You have to guide him to eat fish so that he stays full. The longer he goes without eating, the hungrier he gets, and you do not want to find out what happens when this patience runs out. It's a super stressful situation made all the more grim by the music. The second example is Floodlit Fish. Here, the water is almost pitch black. Newer TVs give you control over the screen's brightness, which lessens the effect, but TVs in 1996 did not have that option, and almost made the level impossible to navigate until you stab the Gleam and Breams, yellowfish who emit light after you poke them. The music makes this level, and any other water level, incredibly unsettling, but it's an effect I've come to love over time. So, as I said before, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble is a great game with great music, but as with all soundtrack Saturdays, it has come to an end. So what do you think? Let me know down in the comments your favorite song from Donkey Kong Country 3. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new here and liked what you saw, throw a barrel at that subscribe button for more. And until next time, you guys, peace.